She stood there like royalty, arms folded across a designer jacket, sunglasses perched like she was scoping out her next power move instead of waving her perfectly manicured hand at my brother's Navy SEAL memorial. "That," she said with a curled lip, "is an unsightly decoration." It took a moment to register what I was hearing. My brain refused to compute it at first. I wasn't angry, not yet. I wasn't even stunned. I was just waiting for the punchline. Surely she hadn't just called the folded flag, the bronze plaque, the worn pair of combat boots under a framed photo of my brother unsightly. Surely she wasn't pointing her freshly glossed nail at a tribute to someone who bled out in a desert halfway across the world to make sure she could sip her overpriced espresso without hearing gunfire in the distance. But she was. She meant it. Full chest, no hesitation. Her name was Veronica Kemp, self-appointed Queen of Westbrook Hollow, HOA president for going on 6 years, and the kind of woman who treated suburban aesthetics like a religion. She had apparently decided that my brother's memorial no longer matched the carefully curated blandness of beige stucco walls and imported Italian pavers. Now I've seen things. I've been in places where the air tastes like metal and dust, where you keep your back to the wall and your eyes on every shadow. But nothing quite prepares you for the trench warfare that is a power-hungry HOA president on a rampage. I wasn't just facing a woman with a clipboard, I was facing a tyrant in orthopedic wedges with a landscaping budget that could fund a small militia. Veronica didn't knock. She never did. She strutted up like she owned the sidewalk, waving a manila folder in one hand and pointing at the memorial with the other like it had insulted her begonias. "This violates Section 12 of the Community Aesthetic Code," she said, pursing her lips so tight they looked vacuum-sealed. "The flag is oversized. The plaque was not submitted for pre-approval. You have 24 hours to remove it." I stood there, hands buried in my jacket pockets, wondering if this was some bizarre improv routine. Maybe she lost a dare. Maybe I was on a hidden camera show. But no. She was deadly serious. She was prepared to fine me $100 a day for honoring my brother. My brother Adam, the kid who ran headfirst into hell to pull 3 of his teammates from a burning Humvee before a sniper's bullet made him a name etched in metal. That's who she was trying to erase. I tried reason. Always start with reason. I explained what the memorial was, who it was for. I even offered to move the boots closer to the porch and swap the flag for a smaller one. Hell, I offered to plant petunias around it if she was that starved for symmetry. Her response? "Rules are rules. Your tragedy doesn't make you special." Something cracked in me, then not loud, not violent. Just a quiet click. Like a switch flipping. The part of my brain that cared about playing nice shut down. The part that calculated? That kicked into high gear. I didn't shout. I didn't argue. I just nodded, thanked her for the notice, and walked back inside. But in my head, my mind was moving a mile a minute. That night, I found an orange violation sticker slapped directly onto the plaque. She had come onto my property and vandalized the only piece of peace I had left. That was it. That was the moment I decided I was going to end her, but not with fists. Not with shouting. I was going to dismantle her the way she'd never see coming. Legally. Methodically. Completely. The next morning, I started digging not dirt, but records. There's something called the Gold Star Family's Memorial Act. While Veronica was busy measuring grass height and citing bylaws, I was on the phone with a veterans attorney and a former JAG officer. I also made another call to someone Adam had served with. The call ended with, "We've got your back. Say when." Veronica doubled down. She sent an official letter, HOA letterhead, and everything threatening legal action. She cited the full board. The board, by the way, was mostly her friends from her yoga class and a retired dentist who always looked confused at meetings. One of them signed the letter with a smiley face. On a legal document. But jurisdiction is a tricky thing. You don't just march onto a veteran's property and declare war on a memorial. Not unless you're absolutely sure who holds the high ground. I didn't reply to her letter. I didn't touch the memorial. What I did do was wait. And that's when it got worse. One evening I came home and the flag was gone. The plaque and boots remained, but the folded flag was missing. My security cam? Disabled. Someone had cut the feed, walked onto my lawn, and stolen a flag honoring a fallen SEAL. I filed a police report. The officer's face tightened when I told him what had happened. When I mentioned Veronica and the HOA, he raised an eyebrow. You think she went that far? I didn't have proof yet, but the scent of entitlement and Chanel no. 5 was all over this. Turns out I wouldn't need to prove it myself. A neighbor had caught Veronica bragging during her morning walk, saying she handled the flag situation. The neighbor filmed it. The video got uploaded. And then it exploded. The comments were merciless. The story went viral. And I hadn't even made my move yet. Veronica. She went nuclear. She printed flyers. Real ones. Ink still wet flyers taped to every mailbox, reminding residents of unauthorized displays and the importance of visual harmony. No name, no mention of me, but we all knew. She even proposed an emergency vote to ban all non-landscaping fixtures, calling my brother's boots trauma gnomes. If this had been a year ago, maybe I would have lost it. But now I planned. She didn't know that I'd already contacted Adam's old commander, or that I'd spoken to a woman at the Department of Veterans Affairs who didn't take disrespect lightly. Turns out Veronica had a long history of cruelty hidden under HOA protocol. I found neighbors with stories: Janet's daughter's chalk art erased, Ben's vintage car fined into storage, a disabled child's ramp removed because it wasn't the approved shade. I collected it all. Statements. Footage. Receipts. People were angry and ready to talk. Veronica tried one more trick. She tried to tow my truck, claiming it blocked visibility. The towing company showed up, saw my parking permit in the window, and left without touching it. The next day, a handwritten note on my windshield in all caps, "You're not above the rules." She was unraveling. At the next HOA meeting, I showed up with a folder and a flash drive. The room was packed. She tried to carry on like nothing was happening, but when she mentioned ongoing compliance violations, I raised my hand. She ignored me. Then someone else spoke up. Let him speak. Then another. She finally caved. I stepped forward. I explained the memorial. Who Adam was. What he did. Then I played the video, her voice bragging about stealing the flag. The room went silent. Then I opened the folder. Federal protections. Police reports. Witness accounts. Then the twist, I revealed that veterans advocacy groups were now involved. That the state attorney general had been informed. That legislative inquiries had been launched. She turned pale. The next day, she tried to regain control. She posted a new rule outside the clubhouse. Effective immediately. All non-approved yard installations will be fined. Everyone knew who it targeted. Then the media showed up. A small local outlet first, then a bigger regional paper. A retired colonel from 2 blocks over called her behavior bureaucratic cruelty. The national blogs picked it up. And then came the moment that broke her. Adam's old SEAL platoon arrived. 6 of them. Full dress uniforms. Silent, they stood around the memorial. One knelt and placed a new flag, identical to the one stolen. Veronica watched from her window, frozen. What she didn't know was that one of those SEALs had legislative pull, serious connections. And he had come with paperwork of his own. The HOA scandal? About to become statewide policy. The neighborhood stood still. Kids paused. Cars stopped. No one spoke. It was respect. It was unity. Veronica tried to ignore it, pretended it wasn't happening. But that night, one of the SEALs met with neighbors in my garage. Quiet, strategic. It wasn't just about Adam anymore. It was about making sure this never happened again. A second news crew came, this time national. I was interviewed in front of the memorial. I said respect. That's all we ever wanted. The clip went viral. Advocacy groups reshared it. Politicians weighed in. And Veronica's name? It became synonymous with HOA tyranny. She tried to fight back with emails claiming we were harassing her, calling it psychological warfare. It was laughable. Then came the court summons. Charges included harassment, vandalism, financial misconduct. And the final blow? The state passed the Gold Star Protection Clause prohibiting HOAs from interfering with memorials. Her name? In the legislative record. She moved out 2 weeks later. No farewell. No defense. Just a moving van and a woman avoiding eye contact with every neighbor she'd once ruled over. We didn't celebrate her leaving. We celebrated what came after. A barbecue. A community event. No HOA mandates, just people. Neighbors. Friends. The park was renamed Adams Park. his name carved into the new sign. A permanent reminder. The memorial still stands. The boots are worn, the flag waves, and sometimes, when someone passes by, they pause. They nod. They remember. Because this was never just about one memorial. It was about all of them. It was about standing your ground with quiet resolve and proving that some lines should never be crossed. Veronica tried to erase a name. She became one instead.